Hey everyone, Joe Ovius here. Before we get started, I want to tell our listeners about a brand new podcast from WRAL Studios called Follow the Truth. It starts off by telling the story of Michael Jordan's father, James, who was murdered in 1993. And as the show digs through all of the evidence and the trial, it questions whether the wrong person was convicted as the killer. It's hosted by WRAL TV's Amanda Lamb, and it's a fascinating listen. Find Follow the Truth now wherever you listen to podcasts.
This is the 919 Beer Podcast, part of the Capital Broadcasting Podcast Network. Now, here are your hosts for the 919 Beer Podcast, Joe Ovius, Adam Eschbaugh, and Wayne Holt.
It's the 919 Beer Podcast. Joe Ovius from 99.9 The Fan, Raleigh, North Carolina. Adam Eschbaugh and Wayne Holt from 919 Beer. We got a whole crew today.
They rolled deep in Winston.
I mean, seriously. We got Scott McWhorter.
We got two people here.
Chris Burns from Wise Man out in Winston-Salem. Thanks for coming out, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Now, Adam, we're gonna have to clear something up because I feel like Scott's here because is he party crashing? Because was Scott originally invited to the podcast today?
No. So what had happened was we had to make a change on our date of recording. So we originally had
permanently.
Well, yes, but it just happened on Tuesday.
Because somebody keeps canning on Wednesdays.
Yes.
Would you say you had to pivot?
We did.
It actually works out a whole lot better for me. This whole Wednesday thing has been putting a cramp in my real job.
Lifestyle.
No, my lifestyle. So I like the Thursday at noon because that's when I start my weekend typically.
I see.
So it was a great excuse for me to come to the podcast, drink a few beers, and just continue it on through.
Just keep going.
I would do a little bit of work maybe Friday,
All right.
but don't try to do that on Wednesday.
No, Wayne, whatever makes
so, Joe,
your
I really
lifestyle
appreciate you really working it out and taking it for the team.
Okay.
Anyway, the reason we've got Wise Man is because I reached out to Chris. I'm like, hey, man, I know you don't do a whole lot during the week, so do you want to come?
All the free time.
Do you want to come to the podcast? I need a guest last minute. He's like, sure. And I pulled up, and Scott was here too, which was great. I just didn't think I'd be able to pull Scott within 48 hours of needing a guest to come from Winston. So we're happy to have
that everybody's here. Shout out to House of Hops. They sponsor the 919 Beer Podcast. They got 3 locations, 2 in Raleigh, 1 out in Pittsburgh, so go check them out. They got 24 beers on tap. They got a great selection of brews, individuals that you can just buy. They got online ordering, so drop on by House of Hops. You can also check out their social media channels where they'll tell you when the trivia nights are. I think they got like Zoom Bible studies too. They got all sorts of stuff at House of Hops, so go to their social channels where you can see a list of events that take place at their bottle shops. We appreciate them sponsoring the 919 Beer Podcast. So, what's up with Wise Man? When's the last time we all talked, actually? With the pandemic stuff, I can't keep track of time anymore.
Chris and I talked, or talked
No.
with you guys?
Podcast time. Yeah. Podcast time.
Actually, we did a Zoom podcast last.
That's right.
last spring.
I think right when everything was happening. Right.
Yeah.
So it's good to.
Scott was in his garage.
I was in my garage.
So what's up with Wise Man these days?
Actually, since you just mentioned House of Hops, I feel like that's a perfect segue.
Okay.
Any Wednesday that you want to come out to McNeil Point, I'll be there dropping needles. Joe, I know you'll be into this.
Wait, I don't understand.
You'll be into this.
Why haven't I heard this?
Is this a drug reference?
No.
Sounded like it.
The listeners are going to be able to hear Adam's eye roll when I describe this too.
I'm excited. What is this?
So I do a Wise Man hosted Bring Your Own Vinyl Night at McNeil Point every Wednesday from 5:30 to close.
I'm excited about this.
So last year, since I wasn't able to go to any live music, I pretty much invested in 200, 300 vinyl records just to keep the content going.
I like how you called it an investment.
100%.
Absolutely.
They pay for themselves. But yeah, so I got with the manager at House of Hops, and he was like, that sounds like a great plan. Like, so every Wednesday from about 5:30 to 9.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have to
Do
drop
you
by.
have any
I'm
Rod
gonna have to drop by
Stewart?
after work.
Do you have any Rod Stewart?
All the classics.
There you go, Joe.
You know what?
You'll be able to go.
I'll bring that purple Rod Stewart record that my dad sent to me last week or 2 weeks ago. All right, I'm excited about this. I'm going to have to bring some of my cool records. Get on the ones
I hope
and
to see
twos.
you, man.
I would
Wayne,
really like to have some cool beer, but
oh, okay. Well, I'll be right.
I just want to comment on the vinyl paying for itself, because I thought the only thing that paid for itself were vinyl windows, replacement windows. But I'm guessing vinyl records that you drop the needle on.
That's it. So we are blessed in the Triangle with having about half a dozen real cool vinyl shops, and most of them sell beer. And I'm able.
You and Joe are going to. We took the microphone away from Joe for a moment.
Joe's got work to do.
We didn't want you guys to geek out too much, but you guys are going to geek out on this totally. I can see.
Oh,
I can see next Wednesday night you're going to have Joe up there with his Hot Rod Stewart album and a few other classics.
Vinyl.
So I want a Facebook Live or Instagram Live.
When you say you invested in 200 to 300 records, is this?
Hope you bought a collection. You didn't buy them individually.
I thought he was trying to buy a house. So obviously,
let's talk about financial decisions. Is this something that is this just any and everything you get your hands on, or is it like only Chris Burns approved? Like when people come there, are they like, oh, do you have any like good music?
That's why I said bring your own vinyls.
Or is this all like the Carpenter's greatest hits? Because that's all I'm seeing right now.
You can definitely find some Carpenters. I've got a couple
Jim
copies
Croce?
of some ABBA Gold, all the way to the Clash. A little bit of Jim Croce.
Yes.
Yeah, it's something for every ear, man.
Three Dog Night.
A little bit of Three Dog Night.
Dude,
sure. Absolutely,
bro.
man.
Might have to check that out.
So basically anything Jeff Lebowski would listen to, you're going for.
That's my kid.
Any Credence? No, just kidding. So this is every Wednesday?
Every Wednesday at House Hops McNeil Point, and I actually do them pretty much Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at different accounts all across the Triangle.
Yeah, he's a vinyl master.
Yeah.
What do you
So
do?
I've got an on-the-go rig. I've got a turntable. I've got
hustle?
an amp. It's a wise man hustle.
Is that how you're selling the Wise Man beer? You're like, you do a Wise Man night somewhere 4 or 5 nights a
Just
week?
about, yeah, man.
Do they have beers? Do they have Wise Man beer specials? Or?
Two or three half barrels at each location, ready to go.
So, I mean, I've been crushing a lot of y'all's beer over at Pharmacy in downtown Cary.
Why do you think we're running out of it so quick, man?
I have forced
like gas.
Tyler, keep me some West Coast IPAs in the cooler because I know you're not going to keep it on tap because he always says, I can't buy enough. I can't do. Not everybody's making them. I said, Wise Man's making them. Just order more kegs. What I do, I can't get but so many of them. Just keep them. Because I do like what you guys are doing.
You won't be disappointed when you see Tyler's next order come in.
Sweet.
That's all I can say.
So vinyl. And Scott, what have you been up to? What are
you turning?
I saw you physically back in like at Thanksgiving. I think it was the last time you stopped by the brewery on your way to the beach.
That was right before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So
I haven't seen you since then.
Basically in the tap room. Back in July, I took over basically a different title. It's Director of Commercial Operations, but essentially it's anything customer focused. So that's the tap room as well as sales and distro. Tap room has been taking a bit of my time, but basically planning our future is what I've been working on.
He's our fearless leader.
Speaking of pivot, like what's that? I know what it's like to focus on sales and tap room, but they're so drastically different.
Yeah.
How's that been?
It's been interesting. You know, we have a good team, but getting through COVID, all the changes, the challenges that the people in the tap room see, very early on, like the sales guys, my delivery guys, we were out in it. So that was not a big deal. But with everything all the changes that happen in with tap room and the governor and mask and having to enforce it and everything else, that's been a challenge. And we're back to a challenge now with the expectation that this stuff's going to roll off June 1st. So we're already starting to implement small little changes. So it's just not this, wipe the board clean and oh my gosh.
And we just can't keep beer in stock enough.
We can.
Oh, you poor things. I mean, wow, that must really
we call it
suck.
a champagne problem.
Yeah. But you guys you guys had to make a hard turn last year when everything shut down. You went basically 99% of your stuff was put into cans.
That's right.
And then when things started opening up, you really had to change too, and you didn't have all of your beers available on draft. I remember talking to you guys about that.
So we pivoted really early. We talked about this in last spring on our Zoom podcast, but we pivoted really quickly to cans. August came, we had to start doing draft, went through the fall, and then winter came and draft kind of dropped off. We went back to more cans. Part of Chris talking about not being able to stay in beer, part of it was we made a conscious effort or decision to take a couple of days off from brewing. It was nothing but like 7-10 days, but that 7 to 10 days just put us in a predicament where things took off a little quicker than we thought they would. And then now we're seeing people with people opening back up, and the draft on premise is just really gone crazy.
Yeah, this is not a unique conversation I've had recently with folks. We had borrowed something from Trophy a few weeks ago, and I was stopping back and returning it to Les, and basically having the same conversation. Like, the winter came, and none of us ever thought people were buying beer. And then that made nobody ready for spring, because spring has just been wide open. Now we're all trying to figure out where the beer's going to come from to fill orders.
The late, great Joey Ramone said it best. It's, hey, let's go right now. It's crazy out there.
Do you have that record?
I do.
Okay,
a couple
good.
copies.
Yeah, good.
But I think what happens, to your point, Adam, of in the winter, and you're thinking, is anybody going to buy beer? I'm a builder, so in the Great Recession that started in 2008, some guys who'd been doing it a whole lot longer than me, and much wiser then and much wiser now than I'll ever be, said, keep your head up. Banks very quickly forget what happened. The valves will be open, and people will be buying houses again. And since 11, when it turned around, I've not been able to produce enough inventory. Right now, I'm the same way. So on a much larger scale of trying to build a house brewing beer, but it's the same problem. It's inventory.
It is. And that's, where Adam's asking what I've been doing. So I spend a lot of my time trying to project forward 3, 6, 9, 12 months about where we're going to be, markets we're going to be, what's going to happen. Giving these guys things to look at. One of the biggest issues we have now is cooperage, because cooperage is in the market, and everything's slowed down, and so you got to get that back.
Well, home building eats up some of that, right? I mean, because it's the same metals and some of the things that we use.
Sure. So this is me being naive. In my side of the business, we've been anticipating return to work, people back in their cars. Eventually, once the fall hits, we're expecting people to be, we're already seeing college teams talk about, we're going to have tailgating. And we're already starting to plan ahead for those types of things. So what was preventing, or what was getting in the way of, you had to know that things were going to ramp back up once it got, by the very least, getting warmer and people being more comfortable going out, because they were just over the pandemic. Vaccines are not.
Well, part of it is we did anticipate that people would go back out, that draft would come back. With that pivot we did last year, we kind of created a monster in the fact that now everybody can get our beer in cans. We were putting everything in cans. So
we built an expectation.
Yeah, the challenge is
I got it.
Challenge is how much do we put in package? How much do we put in kegs? Mm-hmm. Where's that line? We're going to run out of something, and we've got to cover it.
Do you think it's going to go back, or do you think this is just the new normal, in that there is that expectation of cans, as you mentioned, but now that people are going back out more often, they also want to make sure you see your stuff there?
Yeah, it's the new normal.
Okay.
Right. It's my expectation come June 1st is somebody told me they heard on NPR that they expect 6 months of Mardi Gras conditions.
Lord, hear our prayer.
Yeah, I kind of expect something to that level. I just think people, once we get through this and people can say, hey, I'm going back out and I'm going to go have a beer.
Yeah.
They're going to go do it. And hopefully when they have that beer, they can find that beer and package somewhere and take it home with them.
Well, and speaking of package, this year was very different for us so far, because we were included in every Lowe's Foods beer set. So we're in the cold section at every Lowe's in the Triangle now.
Okay.
Maybe even statewide. I can only speak to the Triangle.
Not quite, but we're close.
Yeah, that's put an incredible amount of strain on us to try to keep more cans around, for customers that we've been working with for 3-4 years. That Lowe's is already going through a huge amount.
Yeah, it's
we
funny.
Just didn't forecast.
It's funny, Scott. You mentioned the Mardi Gras conditions, because the Durham Bulls are back, and went to the game for opening day, the home opener. And I think they're capped with the social distancing protocols at the DBAP at around 2,700 people. But those 2,700 people were so motivated to go to a game and drink a beer and all those types of things that I had not seen beer lines like that before at a ball game. Plus, and I think it was just, people were just so like, I want to do this again so badly, that it made it look like it was busier than it actually was. And I guess, to those Mardi Gras conditions for your place out in Winston-Salem and for other places that are going to be opened up and everything is warmer, I guess be ready, right?
I think it's coming. this summer will be very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Let's hope it's coming. And speaking of the Mardi Gras conditions, there is a bill that is before. I think it's left the House. It's cleared committee, and it's in the Senate
today. Today they're talking about it.
That could open up social districts anywhere in a town. The town would have to approve it, but it would give towns, cities, whatever, the right to do that, which would allow open container on city streets.
Right. That's exactly
How
right.
sweet would that be?
It'd be awesome. That bill also has a provision that extends the extension of premises as we've been operating under for the last year, which, anybody that's a brewery that had needed to go outside and didn't have that as part of their premises, that was huge. That was huge for us. I mean, if you come by now, you'll see we take up 14 spaces in front of the brewery. There's 2 different beer gardens, part of it covered, part of it not. If we didn't have that for the last year, it would have been very, very difficult for us to make it.
There are quite a few bills right now that have cleared the House and are in the Senate that are pro-alcohol for North Carolina. They're all not going to get through, but I sure hope this social one gets through. That could be a game changer for a lot of downtowns.
It was kind of serendipitous. I wish that we still had some around, but the last sour beer that we brewed was a nod to New Orleans. It's called the Big Easy, 7.5% Imperial Berliner Weiss that tasted just like a hurricane. Felt kind of badly only having one in one hand.
Intriguing.
Felt more like a double fister kind of beer.
Next one is you got to do the shark attack, where you get that shot of grenadine and somebody gives you a rubber shark at the bar in New Orleans. All right, actually, speaking of beer, let's actually talk about the beer. I believe you just poured the Wise Water Cherry. Do I have that right?
You do.
Okay, so what do we got going on with this one?
So sort of kicked it off with a curveball. Last year we started doing our own seltzers. We've done a couple different variations of this one, but we do 2 pretty much regularly now. One is Prickly Pear, and this one is the Wise Water Cherry.
So this is branded as a seltzer?
Yes.
Okay. Because I was confused there for a second because it tasted – if you told me that this was a beer, I would believe you that it's a beer, a lighter version, going for something refreshing. But this is marketed as a seltzer because it doesn't have anything fakey to it.
No, 100%. It's 100% real cherry juice, and that's why it has that really nice cherry pie aroma and flavor to it. We do everything in-house. The guys back there are geniuses. 100% of why we do as well as we do is because of the maniacs back in the brew house. And it took them a while to sort these recipes out, but once they nailed them, they're dialed in.
Now, is this taproom only for you guys, or you're selling kegs of it?
We are selling kegs of it. You can find this all over the Triangle. There's a couple places who have actually swapped this in for their keg rosé and their keg cider.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Very good. Now, what's the calorie count on this bad boy?
I don't think we've sent it off yet.
Okay.
Just throw a number out there. Nobody cares.
No, I'm curious because when people the reason why I ask is people associate the seltzer
50 calories
with being
right here.
100 calories or whatever it is. There's a particular not a health angle to it, but people just a little calorie conscious will go towards the seltzer. I was just curious as to what.
That's considered we consider it a craft seltzer. I mean, there's not a whole lot in that when you start looking at how you make a seltzer.
Sure.
So, whatever the alcohol is going to add to the calories, and then the cherry juice, because the cherry juice is
real
added. Yeah, it's added later.
Okay.
So it's probably a little higher than the mainstream.
Okay. But it's not back sweetened, and as you can taste it, it's bone dry. Like
there's
no sugar left in there.
It's very, very good.
Now, when this is on tap, do you have to do anything different to the pressure of that line? Do you know, or do you keep it the same as everything else?
It's carbonated to the same levels as our beers.
It
would pour the same way as like a Helles or a Pilsner does.
Yeah, we actually did some small batch stuff, and they carved it to a little higher level because a lot of the seltzers are carved almost close to 3.
Okay, yeah.
So we carved a couple a little higher. We did have problems. This comes out of a keg box, not from the cooler, the short draw that we have. But so we could have fixed that, but we just decided to go back and carb it to the level of just about everything else we do.
Which is nice because it doesn't, I think the downside of a lot of those seltzers that are a little bit more mass produced is just how sharp that bite is. Like we really wanted to avoid that really sharp carbonation. So this ends up being a much smoother, more kind of, it almost tastes naturally carbonated to me, just a nicer spread of bubbles.
Yeah.
Now we're into beer.
Back into the beer. And,
I'm almost positive I brought this one before.
I don't remember.
You very well
You might have, but I don't
I
remember
think
the packaging.
When we brought it,
I
it
don't
probably
remember
was
the
in a
packaging.
crowler.
Yeah,
This-
it might have
okay.
been. It might have been in a crowler.
This could be a 3-peat, and it still wouldn't get old.
It's very nice.
Well, about the packaging, real quick, because I know you guys have stepped it up in terms of how you do your labels. I mean, Wayne and I actually we judged Label Madness for the Craft Brewers Guild, and what was the name of the wise? It was it was some sort of Weiss beer with a flamingo on it. Wayne.
Tropical shirts.
Tropical
Shirts, which
it's
we
a great
loved
can.
that freaking can. Everything about that label was great. I think that's the
Great
one
beer.
Did we not? That was the one we picked to go all the way through, right?
Yeah, it was
From that
Black,
category.
blackberry, raspberry, Berliner.
Okay, got it.
It's the only sour we do year round.
And this one's got some artwork to it with birds and mermaid things and whatnot. It's very pretty.
Yeah, if we
So
were
you guys
judging
stepped it up.
that, if we were judging, this one would get a lot.
It would.
Love it.
So
the matte and gloss combination. That's sharp.
I mean, it's got everything on the front that I want to see: the name of the beer, the style of the beer, the name of the brewery, the ABV. But then you flip it around back, and the artwork's incredible.
That's one of my favorite things about our packaging. It's unmistakable.
Yep.
You never confuse a Wise Man can with anything else.
So with the Kolsch, this is a particular style that thankfully never goes out of style.
Sure doesn't.
Everybody has a time and a place for a Kolsch. It goes with everything. So, I think we actually have had this, but just not in the actual finished product cans. But it's excellent. It's very,
Did you
very
bring
good.
the farmhouse Kolsch?
So
About that?
I requested
Don't
the
ask-
farmhouse
Adam,
It's on
why
tap
did-
at one of my places.
Adam,
I
why did you do
requested
that?
the farmhouse Kolsch, and I got the sassiest response.
Oh.
Chris, why are you going to bring the rustic piece? It's already sold out.
Oh boy.
Because it's such a fun
Because
beer.
it's
I also
delicious,
said, I
Scott.
also said, oh, okay, for the podcast, go ahead and get it. So somewhere we got our wires crossed.
It never made the trip from
Might be
Winston.
the beginning of the end we're
sadly.
witnessing here, guys. All right, so
Chris, we need to talk later.
so Kolsch is called Dance in the Sun. Awesome looking can.
Far
Really
more traditional.
really traditional tasting feeling Kolsch. I always think Kolsch's have a certain flavors that really stand out to me and certain mouthfeel too. Like the beer just really works uniquely on my palate. And this is a delicious example of it. So you brought Full Current, which is a Goza, and what else did you guys bring that we're going to talk about?
We've got some Westies for you.
Good,
today.
good, good.
We've got Brilliant Stuff, which is a
That's the pale ale.
That's the
that's-
IPA. That's the
that's
West
the
Coast
IPA.
IPA, and we have an all Simcoe hopped West Coast pale ale called The Clearest Way.
Fun. Okay,
So,
so,
yeah, those are getting cracked
Brilliant
next.
Stuff, that's right. Brilliant Stuff's got like that brighter can, like pinks and oranges and from whatever,
Yes, it's
pink
got
and
the-
yellow,
yeah,
like
and it's,
yeah,
it's got
great beer.
palm trees on it.
Yes, delicious beer.
Hey, it's Jamie and Sarah, and we are back with another fresh, sparkling new episode of Wine and Dandy, which leads us nicely into what we're talking about.
That's
Sarah.
right. So refreshing. We're talking about hard seltzers. And I'll tell you what, there are some new ones on the market that may change your mind about hard seltzers.
Join us.
You can find our podcast at WRALFM.com, as well as your Apple Podcast app and anywhere you find your podcast.
Just look for Wine and Dandy. Once you search and find it and enjoy it, please tell all your friends. Share the link with them.
And be sure to follow us, because wine is fun and we intend to prove it.
So you guys kind of, I don't want to say Wayne and I are responsible for it, but we like to take credit for it. You guys really went, I don't want to say all in, but you really took a stand on focusing on some West Coast stuff to do, like, not special releases, but pretty much every month or every other month. You guys have been releasing or re-releasing a different West Coast IPA or pale ale.
We're on the crusade, man.
Hey, nobody appreciates it more than the two sitting here.
If you look
For sure.
through this beer, you can see right through it.
Make
Yeah.
the IPA clear
And you
again.
always-
Nothing orange juicy
You
about
always
this
have
bad
mountain
boy.
calling. You always have mountain calling.
We do.
Which you consider a West Coast. That's usually in my fridge.
Sure.
Strike Fire.
Fire.
Not Strike Force, right? Strike Fire. I was thinking Strike Force. Strike Fire came out October?
We've done 3 runs of Strike Fire at this point, I believe.
Yeah, we've actually done
That's
more.
the gray, black, and red can.
Yep.
Yep.
Really awesome. Super dry,
Yep.
clean.
Bone dry.
really dry. Like a great example of a dry West Coast IPA. It doesn't have some of the sweetness that some of the others can have. Mountain Calling's definitely a little sweeter.
Right.
Oh, it almost tastes like a smash beer. Like, I mean, I know that I've seen the way that Sam and Ryan slap together their recipes, and there's a lot of callbacks to homebrew days. It feels like there's a lot of other grains in there, but in such tiny amounts, such small increments that, I mean, you open up one of those Strike Fires, it pours like it's just pale malt and whichever hops we used for it that day.
I have not even had this poured into my glass.
What do we
yet,
know?
I can smell it.
Yeah, what do we know about Brilliant stuff? What do people need to know about it? 6.5%, super clean, nice and dry, but it does have a nice malty sweetness that doesn't allow that bitterness to kind of take over.
Right. It's balanced. You get big mango, I'd say tangerine, like big tropical flavor. There's just enough understated bitterness there. Like they put in just enough of those bittering hops to make sure that it doesn't get too much of that grainy sweetness. And even with this, I mean, very, very light color, like golden clear beer. This one is just kind of the next on the long line of.
Do you know what
awesome,
hops are in this?
IPAs
I'm not quizzing you. I'm just curious if you do.
I do, because that was the part of
That's
the
how
text
I'm
I
here
got from
today.
Scott this morning. That it was included in the jelly that you're doing the podcast without me.
Chris is like, I know Adam's going to ask. Can you remind me what the hops are?
I know I'm getting quizzed. It's a Zaka. I'll read the text message exactly. A Zaka, Citra, Mosaic. Also, jelly. You're doing the podcast. All right, I said it.
So just those three.
Just those three.
Zaka, Citra, Mosaic. Such a nice beer.
Yeah, it is.
Perfectly
And
balanced.
Mountain Calling is my go-to. I drink more of that than anything else we do. I'm still an old school West Coast style. That's
I agree.
what I grew up on.
I drink more of that than anything else you guys do too.
This beer comes out, and this is what I drink until it's gone.
Yeah, it's just a really nice. I don't want to use the word soft and like have it be like a bad thing, but it's not going to punch you in the face and leave you with this bitterness. It's just such a nice balance.
You think it's
beer.
going to, right? You
Yeah.
think mid palate, here comes the bitterness, and then by the time it gets to the back of the palate, where you think it's just going to be like super bitter, it just goes away, and that sweetness, it's just very drinkable.
There's a reason that the two pillars that we stand on are our hoppy beers and our sour beers. They rarely, if ever, disappoint. But I actually tend to drink more of our lighter stuff. Like, I adore our Kolsch's, that rustic piece you were talking
rustic
about.
Piece is awesome. You literally texted me and I didn't even respond because I saw it like a week later. It was during a canning run debacle. And you're like, rustic piece is back. And you sent me like this GIF, and I'm like, I saw it like 3 hours later. I was like, okay, thanks, Chris. Because you knew I'd want to buy it.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure, of course.
that's a really cool beer. But I agree. Like you've got Scoop Dog, you've got your Kolsch, you've got your Farmhouse Kolsch, you've got.
Because we do the IPAs and the sours so well and so frequently, we get to play around with so many different European yeasts, and it's the most fun. Like, we'll do small batches of English milds and Dunkelweisens and
The stuff that beer
blondes.
nerds love, but they don't sell.
Exactly, the least sexy styles of beer on the market that I eat up.
Yeah, why doesn't that sell anymore?
We were having our Maibach yesterday. Like, my wife and I were having a beer together, and she was like, "Why doesn't this beer sell more?" I was like, "Because it's a Maibach. Nobody cares. We love it. We appreciate it." But
What is it? It's old news. I mean,
No, I think
I'll go to bat
think
for
it's
my
I think
Maibach
it's
10 times out of 10.
I think it's education.
okay. Because
Right?
anytime I,
mean,
see
let's
anything
fa- let's
German,
fa-
whatever,
Let's face it, hazy's. That's all you heard. Hazy.
Yeah.
West Coast have been around forever, and some people are like, "Well, I don't know what's a West Coast," right? So they're coming back. It's just things like the Kolsch, the alt beer, the English mild, porters.
Yeah, like the Kolsch to me, that Kolsch was one of the first beers that so everybody has their little craft beer journey, right? And for a lot of people, that craft beer journey starts with an IPA. Maybe they have that West Coast IPA or they have a Dogfish 60, like way back in the day. But the thing that actually got me super interested in craft beer or different kinds of beer, as generic as it is a Gaffel Kolsch. I'm like,
which is a classic.
it's like the gold standard.
yeah. I'm
Timeless.
like, oh, well, okay, I like this. This is refreshing. It's beer. It's beer flavored beer that I'm used to, but with like better flavor. So that's what, to me, so anytime I see a Kolsch, I immediately gravitate towards that because I know I'm going to be getting something good if it's coming from a place that actually has it. So that's why when you had the Dancing in the Sun, I was like, yes, give that to me.
It's just Dance in the Sun.
Or Dance.
Joe.
No. You know what I was thinking?
Syllables.
I was thinking vinyl. I think it's vinyl.
He was thinking
ABBA.
Dancing in the Dark.
Dancing in the Streets. is what
I
he
was thinking Dancing Queen.
Dancing Queen.
Dancing on the Ceiling.
Yes.
I know I could get the people at House of Hops going if I do just dancing.
I'm thinking I want to know what night you're going to go because I want to see you guys geek out together.
Oh, that'll be fun. Yeah.
I do.
That'll be insane. This is cool.
You need to let us know.
I'm gonna have to pick out a Wednesday.
Joe's
to
going to
go
walk
do
up
that.
to Chris and be like, hey, Chris, let me see your vinyls.
Do you
I think
have?
we might have a new MC.
It's like, do you guys
Do you have any Rod Stewart?
Yes. Which is this an original copy of Bowie? Okay.
This is 180 gram. I know this is digitally sourced.
Exactly. All right. So, what am I drinking next here?
This is the clearest way.
The clearest way.
clearest
This
way.
is the clearest way.
Does Baby Yoda drink this? What are we doing?
Grogu.
This is the way. Grogu. What do we got here?
I'd like to think that if this were available at Mos Eisley, it would
If this was at
absolute-
Galaxy's Edge.
Right. This would
in
absolutely
Orlando.
be consumed in a galaxy far, far away.
Okay. All right.
What? Can we talk Simcoe? Can we talk Simcoe? Can we talk about this?
How much is there left to say?
Because people don't know what to do with Simcoe sometimes. They either love it or hate it.
It's true.
And, like, I love it that you've got a 100% Simcoe Pale Ale because I've got a 100% Simcoe, what's his word? Holtzhev is our Pilsner. And people either love it or hate it.
We moonwalked it all the way back to 99 with this one, man.
I love it, though.
It's
like
great.
Simcoe, Centennial, like some of those, like, OG West Coast hops, I think are... I mean, it's. I'm not making some market speculation, but go ahead and get in early because they're going to make some Doge runs here. People are going to go back to some West Coast beers, hopefully in the future, and those hops are going to start getting popular again.
I mean, I love Galaxy just as much as the
Still
next
love
person.
Galaxy,
Sure.
but when I can pay $12 a pound versus $30 a pound, and still love the flavors I'm getting,
and still have nice nuance. Like there's still levels of character to this beer. Like it's not just oof, cat pee. Like this is a really well-rounded.
That's
Simcoe
the argument
Pale Ale.
that some people give about Simcoe, that they say it tastes catty or can taste catty. But it's kind of like that. Joe, what's the herb or whatever that people say tastes like soap?
Cilantro.
It's that.
Which
it's that whole thing.
I don't
It
understand.
can be very
that, but
jarring.
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't either. But some people they hate it.
You tell me
they
blue
hate
cheese.
it so much.
You tell me blue cheese tastes like soap, I'd believe you, but not cilantro.
Yeah, Simcoe can definitely be one of those polarizing hops, but when used in the right capacity and with the delicate hand that Ryan and the guys back at Wise Man have, like you can turn it into a beer that's just as sexy as Mosaic or something that's all Citra, in my opinion.
Well, let's face it. I mean, when you go back to this kind of style beer, I mean, everybody's doing hazies, and they're super loading on the dry hop.
Okay.
You come back to a West Coast, it's a more refined hand. Mm-hmm. You have to be careful. You can't go overboard because then you do get over that line where it's like, okay, that's catty, that's a little.
This is just bad homebrew.
Well, that's the thing. For those who might not be familiar with this, I guess with the hazy, I guess the misconception is that you can mask a lot of mistakes in a hazy IPA. Maybe.
Undoubtedly.
I don't know that it's necessarily a
I'm not
misconception.
sure
I
about
think
that.
it can be a little bit more forgivable though.
It's a forgivable beer. How about I was
because
trying to
all
find the
people
right.
want is aroma with that beer anyway.
I was trying to find the right way.
They just don't realize all they want is aroma.
They want orange juice that's 8.5%.
Perfect. And that's what I was trying to get at. Like I didn't quite know the best way to put it, but all I know is that my perception of hazies is you can mask things. You can get away with something. But you get to certain styles. We've talked about this with lagers and pilsners, Adam.
Lagers and pilsners.
Lagers and pilsners. Or in this particular case with the West Coast IPA, it's not as forgiving.
No, absolutely not. Like you have to have that proper amount of bittering hop. You got to have that perfect amount of dry hop. They got to go in on the right days. They got to go in at the right temperatures.
Right.
You can't just dump 2 boxes full of whatever the coolest newest thing is from Australia into a 5.1% beer
There you go.
and have it come out the way you want it, especially with price point too. Like, we kind of pride ourselves on how competitively priced our beer is, at the same time bringing the utmost premium quality to everybody. So, being able to use what you have and stretch it the right way, I think is a testament to how Ryan and the guys back in the brewery
we're talking about hops, but the other thing, you got to go back, and yeast plays a huge part of this, right? I mean, it's knowing exactly
even
which
talk about
yeast
that.
to use.
Sure.
And that's one of the things about with us, a lot of folks might have a house yeast or 3 or 4 yeast. I don't know how many yeast we use. It's
because you're doing Kolsch's, you're doing Belgians, you're doing lagers, you're doing sours, you're doing so many different styles that require different yeasts.
And if you're going to do what Sam's vision is, which is true to style, it's going to be our beer, but true to style, you have to use the yeast that goes along with that. Right?
But that being said, there's also room for interpretation and invention. This beer, even though it's a West Coast all Simcoe hopped pale ale, fermented with Kolsch. Fermented with Kolsch yeast.
At what temperature, though?
I'd have to get on the line with Ryan.
So that's the thing, like, Kolsch yeast, it's treated closer to
like
a
a
lager,
lager.
right? So, and it gives it certain characteristics. That's interesting you guys do that. And Ryan's doing a great job back there. Ryan and Dave, my brewer, your brewer and my brewer, they just went on a fishing trip together. Like, those guys are tight. And we're talking upcoming collabs and stuff. So, I've obviously been a fan of Wise Man since you guys have been, I guess, coming this way. You guys have been to Beercana, and I love the product and the variety of beers that you're putting out there. Speaking of which, you've opened a new one. Oh, this is the sour, Full Current. So what is?
I need to have lunch soon.
Right. This isn't the newest sour that we did, but this is the newest in the line of gozes that we've done.
And the reason it's not the newest is because we can't keep sours in.
We can't.
Why not?
Right now, it's IPA, whether it be New England or West Coast, because West Coast are coming back.
Okay.
From my perspective, or sours, and those 2 styles are selling like hotcakes.
Okay, good.
Especially with warmer months.
Yeah,
Especially with warmer months.
And I'll give you an interesting thing. We just released our first true barrel-aged blended sour. It's called Glittering Belts. It was a collab we did with a brewery down in Greenville, South Carolina called 8th State. And it had been in barrels 2.5 years. And we had some golden sour that was in some other barrels. We did our first real blend and put it out. It sold out. Everything we had. And since then, everything that's in that program, our sour program, is sold out. We can't keep those. Mm-hmm. And part of that was because we couldn't keep our kettle sours in because they sold out. And so people were looking for these others that are priced way higher than these are.
I have more than a few annoyed customers, accounts out here in the Triangle, who are like, if you can't keep your sours in stock, why don't you just get another tank? It's like, have you been to our brew house before? We can't fit any more tanks back there. We are all full up.
Plus, thanks for the advice. How about we go halvesies on that tank?
Right?
And we can make something happen.
You guarantee me you're going to buy.
Yeah, exactly. Buyers love that. But they're really good at giving advice to breweries, which is awesome.
They always know best.
Yeah, so anyway, Full Current, Blackberry, Lemon, Goza. This rotates flavors, or is it always Blackberry Goza?
No, we've done 4 iterations on this beer, I think, in the last 2 years, I want to say.
And the next one is passion fruit pomegranate.
Seemingly, the way that they decide what fruits are going to be in here is what would taste good in a pie. That's the way it's always seemed
actually,
to me.
at this point, the fruit that goes in is what fruit we can get, because what's happened is with fruited everything and fruited sours, we use primarily Oregon fruit, and it's whatever you can get at this point. Everyone's sold out.
So when we're talking,
again, we're making the best situation with what we've got. If all we've got is blackberry and lemon, we'll figure out a way to make it taste great.
That works. Serious question: do you have a slushy machine yet?
Yes, we do.
Because this in a slushy machine is
that is a sore subject with
for this
certain
weather.
people. No, yeah, we just put in a slushy machine. It's only going to operate during the weekends. We just recently did the Big Easy in the slushy. We just also did for Cinco de Mayo. We did Jose Goze, which is our margarita goza. We did that in the slushy. This weekend we're going back to the Big Easy, but a little bit of change. And obviously you're putting some juice in there as well to add some sweetness, because once you freeze a slushy or slushify a sour, it takes all that water out and it gets really, really intense. So, but yeah, I mean, we're going to run with it.
This would be such a nice. Oh boy, Joe!
He can't take me anywhere.
He needs to eat.
This is why we're in the Fight Club. We're not allowed in the studio anymore because Joe
anymore.
just spills his floors. We have a plastic table and carpet's been ripped up off the concrete floors.
I spent all morning watching
so much beer in
how
the
to
studio.
properly
That's all it
open
was.
and pour from a crowler too, just to make sure I wouldn't spill when I was here. Helped a little bit,
especially for you, Scott, since you're not only a head of sales, out the door sales, but the tap room. What do people need to know about your tap room and the experience they'll have when they show up there?
Well, obviously, June
like me, your biggest fan, who's literally never been to your tap room.
Never been, How
I've literally never been. I've never actually been to the tap room. Never been to Wise Man.
I don't know.
I've had their beer for years, but and we talk at least monthly. Mm-hmm. We've got this ridiculous 3-way group text.
Yeah, last time I was there was for the Billy Joel show at BB&T Field.
Yeah, once every 6 weeks I get a text. Boom!
You up?
This is amazing. I'm like, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Adam, it's 2 a.m.
Yeah, leave me alone.
Go to bed.
Go to bed.
So
everything
that June 1 is the question mark.
Sure.
We were talking about this bill that's going through the Senate today. Hopefully that gives us the ability to stay spread out. But we've been following the rules like we were supposed to. We're going to continue to hopefully have this space. We're going to go back to some more normal operations. We just had live music for the first time in over a year on Saturday.
Isn't that the best?
We're going to do that. Oh, it was
just come to one of my vinyl nights. It's practically the same thing.
I get that, but I might go to every concert that's out there this summer just because.
When I saw Korn and Stain,
I won't go to that.
I will be there front row.
I will do anything for love, but I won't go to Korn.
But the thing was, like for me, it's like after they get past, there was Follow Leader, and then there was the record after Issues. Anything after Issues, I'll go get a beer. But I'm there for the other stuff.
We're forgetting about Untouchables, most assuredly. But Follow the Leader and Issues, that is gold.
You wouldn't go see Korn?
No, I've
seen Korn in concert. I saw Korn, Rob Zombie together at
sophomore
Greensboro
year.
Coliseum.
We ran out to Korn playing football. That was cool.
Oh, jeez.
And that's never been that cool to me since.
I'm thinking Joe and Chris should start a music and beer.
I'm here for it.
Here.
I tried that once. People just want their beer. I think they want Wayne's takes. And if I can't get Wayne's takes.
Which Wayne has not said a whole lot today.
No.
Man, my take, I am enjoying the beer. Plus, having to share a microphone with Adam is not always the greatest thing. I mean, that dude is a chatty Cathy because he likes to ask a lot of questions.
Yes.
But no, my hot takes on music would be less than my hot takes on beer. I can't really give you any business advice on music.
Although the conversations usually are smoother when Adam's not here.
I know, right?
It's weird.
But I can't give you any advice on a music business. But talk to you about anything
Asheville
else.
has all the concerts in October. It's kind of obnoxious, actually.
Well, hopefully more fun stuff will happen in October too. So fingers crossed.
Ooh,
we're waiting.
Ooh, is that
how cryptic?
Oh, super cryptic. Okay, then. All right, before we get out of here, anything else that people need to look forward to with Wise Man? Obviously, you got your space out in Winston-Salem. Cans are readily available. Any other one-off seasonals that people should be on the lookout for in the summer?
We're cranking them out pretty much every week. There's a new menu every week. Keep your eyes peeled.
Okay.
I'll be out there. Come say hey anytime you see me.
Yeah, we're going to continue, as Chris said, pumping out the variety. That's a cornerstone for us. We're going to do our best to maintain that variety in the cans. We are looking at ways to increase our production so that we can continue to meeting demand in the market. So if you're in Winston-Salem, come by. We're spread out. We have beer garden in the parking lot. things are going to change, obviously June 1, but we're looking forward to seeing people again, and we appreciate everybody in the Triad market that came out, or from anywhere else in North Carolina. We love seeing people. We're looking forward to getting back to more normal operation.
Very cool. All right, so I'll see you at Vinyl Night, Chris.
Looking forward to it.
I'm very excited about that. We'll
That's
make it
every
work.
Wednesday.
Every Wednesday,
House of Hops, McNeil Point.
5:30 to 9.
I'll just drop on by after.
Bring your own vinyl.
I'll play anything.
Bring your own 45s.
Now I just have to find Korn on vinyl. I'm sure it exists.
Hunky dory. It's around.
Yeah, but
let's really bring down the vibe while we're there.
Let's bum everyone out for.
Do you
6
have any
minutes.
insane clown posse?
Just because I haven't found it.
I only know them from my WWE days.
Magnets.
I'm sure there's a whole bunch of crossover between 919 Beer and the Juggalo Nation of the Triangle.
Absolutely. They're out there.
They all want to know how magnets work. That's going to wrap it up for this edition of the 919 Beer Podcast. Who we got coming next week?
You asked me too quickly. We'll be back next week. Shoot. Oh, we're at Linwood next week. We're going to hang out with the
We're
nerds.
going to Linwood?
Going to Linwood.
Okay, we're going to go to Linwood on Thursday?
On Thursday.
All right, just making sure, since
Yes.
we've now moved the podcast recording to Thursday.
Every podcast is Thursday.
All right, just
Yes.
gotta get out of
Gonna
the
hang
way.
out with our buddy Bill.
Gotta get your Wayne's.
Are we having food? Do you know?
I don't
Wilson's
know.
is right there, man. You can
Wilson's is
order your
right
damn
there.
food.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
You can order your damn food. All right, Wayne. Wayne, it's been a long time
I
since we
don't
had
like
food
when
brought
mom
to
and
us.
dad fight.
Although you weren't here for
News River. That was a surprise.
Oh yeah.
They brought
they
all the
they-
duck.
yeah.
I was afraid they were going to.
Oh my god.
Oh, they brought the spread.
So
man.
good.
It was delicious.
The back injury that I had 3 weeks ago that
Not-
kept me
not fun?
in bed for a lot of 3 weeks has been zero fun.
Wayne, you gotta take it easy.
Guy, I threw my back
you
out.
might be going a little too hard.
I slammed my back out, guy.
Just saying, Wayne. Chill for a little bit. It's okay.
The double reverse.
Triple Lindy.
That's gonna wrap it up. We'll see y'all next week.
Cheers.
You've been listening to the 919 Beer Podcast with hosts Joe Ovius, Adam Eschbaugh, and Wayne Holt. Don't forget, there are many ways you can listen to this podcast, including streaming at WRALSportsFan.com, the WRAL Sports Fan app, and you can also subscribe for free at Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Pocket Casts, and TuneIn. This podcast also airs Saturday mornings at 8 on Buzz Sports Radio. Thanks again for listening to the 919 Beer Podcast.